Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. The session is beginning. All members are now expected to assume position on their throne.
Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. This is Eli Marcus. Today's topic is called Spiritual Law is the Only Law. There is nothing to debate. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I will be giving a lecture on how the reality you are forced to live is the highest measurement of truth, which proves spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing to debate. Any resistance to the truth creates a contradiction one must be forced to confront in cycles of undesirable life experiences until they submit to the truth. Thank you. So when I think about this topic, spiritual law is the only law. What is a law? What is spiritual law? Spiritual law is a set of laws that governs reality itself, that governs life itself. Everything on earth, everything you see here, everything in existence in your reality must submit to spiritual law in order to exist at all. Nothing can escape spiritual law. That's what I think when I think of spiritual law. It's fundamental truths that even if our intellectuals and our scientists have not even reached this level of evolution of understanding certain things in nature and in reality, spiritual law is the thing, is the pattern that repeats, is the field that is consistent, even if we don't understand it in our academic circles, even if we don't understand it in our formal education, even if our scientists don't understand it. Spiritual law is something that's like, well, we might not understand it, but we know the sun, we know things, certain things happen. In nature, and that its existence is a representation of absolute truth because it exists. As humankind attempts to catch up, attempts to study things and study the behavior of things and study the cycles of things and understand nature itself, nature is still nature, life is still lifing, and there's still a set of laws that it is submitted to by evidence of its existence. And we live in a set of systems. We live in a set of cycles. We live in a pattern. Life itself, the way everything is done on every level follows a certain pattern. There's a methodology. That's what spiritual law is. Spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing to debate. And when we talk about spiritual law, we're also talking about how when we look at different systems, when we look at the governments, when we look at kingdoms, when we examine corporations, we examine religion, the institution of religion. All of those institutions are submitted to the law. It doesn't matter where on earth you are studying kingdoms and countries and nations and cultures and religion and different religious groups and customs and practices. At a certain milestone of human evolution, everybody does certain things a certain way, and they submit to a certain principle because they reach the same conclusion in their own unique evolutionary journey. Law. As with the evolution of everything else on earth, of different animal species, of different plants, of sea life, at a certain level, all things reach a conclusion in its evolutionary journey that no matter how far their kind, their species, is away from them, thousands of miles, tens of thousands, no matter how far, they will all eventually reach a certain conclusion that is very similar. In order for their evolution to be served, in order for them to get to that next level, the developmental stage. The structure of corporations and organizations are very similar. The hierarchy is very similar. Law. All things are submitted to the law. And what God allows is for people, is for life, for mankind, humankind, to co-create and integrate within the law that's already there. Spiritual law is the foundation. And we get to build concepts, structures, society based on that law. Spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing else to debate. And as I always say, the highest measurement of truth is the reality you are forced to live. So anytime someone wants to debate, that's a quote that always comes. The highest measurement of truth is the reality we are forced to live. Why? Because existence itself is truth. Existence itself, the existence you are forced to live. If you are in that condition, if you are in that situation, for you to even be in that circumstance, you are a vibrational match. That is the highest measurement of truth. That shuts everything down. And when you attempt to debate with this principle, that's when victimhood comes into play. That's when self-pity comes into play. That's when confusion, the spirit of confusion, the spirit of blame comes into play. In those type of wound loops, if you're operating in that energetic, those type of wound loops and the life experiences that it attracts to you will keep you deaf, dumb, and blind for decades, wrestling with these wound loops, trying to make sense out of nonsense. Trauma, drama, confusion, disorder. That's what happens when you are in resistance to the law that the reality you are forced to live is the highest measurement of truth. Glory. When you are in resistance to the principle that the highest measure of truth is reality you are forced to live, you will be confronted with a contradiction because you're contradicting the law. Your resistance it creates a contradiction with the law. And that's where you will find in the uniqueness, in every intricate detail of your life experience, your own contradiction. All of the problems in your life ain't nothing but a personal contradiction. And the purpose of a key purpose of your life is to untangle your own contradictions. Because that's what stimulates your evolution. The moment every single contradiction you untangle, you grow, you advance, you expand. On an energetic level, growth, abundance, and prosperity will find you. It will hunt you down as long as you qualify for it. Glory. I said spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing to debate. You want to debate something, debate your reality. Because if you're in a situation, if you're in a circumstance, you qualify for it. There's nothing to debate. All victimhood speeches. Well, you can't say that because what about this? What about that? And people bring up all sorts of things to oppose this principle. They bring up slavery. They bring up SA. They bring up all sorts of violations. And I submit to you, go on that journey. If you're empathetic to the causes of people that you believe are just literally being mistreated without any logical explanation, go on that journey. Go down that rabbit hole. If you go deep enough, you will reach the conclusion all initiated people have reached in that field of reality at that evolutionary level. It was necessary. Whatever it was necessary. However deep it goes, it was necessary. Go down that rabbit hole. Get as much wisdom as you can about it. Look at it from every angle that you can. Examine it from the different life paths that it could have went. Keep studying human nature and human psychology and how people behave in different circumstances. Examine the shadow of people. See 100% of a person's life in psychology, and you will understand that everything that they are going through and everything that they have ever went through was necessary. It needed to happen. Why? So that they could confront their own contradictions, to untangle it. Your life experience is always the highest representation of what is necessary for you, because that is the nature of life. You can't exist unless you are in alignment with that principle. That every single facet of your life, of your existence, is necessary to serve the collective evolution. You can't exist unless you're in alignment with that principle. Spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing to debate. See, I'm about to end all of your debates in your world. I'm about to break it all down. No more debating. When you're debating excessively, you're in resistance to the truth. Once you know the truth, there's nothing to debate. There's only to do. So there is only one principle that allows you to stay within the frame of absolute truth, and that is the reality you are forced to live is the highest measurement of truth. That principle equally shuts everybody down. It checks everybody in the room. And exactly where they need to be checked, even if where they need to be checked is a private matter and it's not something public where everyone can see. It puts everybody in their place. No matter what, no matter how unique the conflict is, no matter what time frame it's in, time period of history it's in, past, present, or future, that principle represents the truth. The highest measurement of truth is the reality you're forced to live. There's a reason the king is the king. There's a reason the queen is the queen. There's a reason you're in the position that you're in your life, in the area of your life that you're in, because it's the highest measurement of truth. There's a reason you have found yourself in the circumstances that you have found yourself in life. It represents the highest measurement of truth. And the moment you make the necessary adjustments within you, it changes the frame of reality that you will be in. It changes the sequence of patterns that you will match. It changes the life experiences that will show up in your reality for you. It's all a sequence of patterns that you're communicating with when you're living life and your life experience. It's all within you. It's the highest measurement of truth. Shuts everything down. You don't need to read 10,000 articles. You don't need to see any more statistics. You don't need more data. That's wisdom. When you adopt the principle that the highest measurement of truth is the reality you are forced to live, you see how it just brings the pinpoint of your consciousness, the heartbeat of your consciousness, to the most clearest frame in which you should access your reality, and it pinpoints you on what is the priority for you to advance your reality, for you to navigate reality towards a more desirable conclusion. All conversations are over. Glory. Glory. There is nothing to debate. Some will say, well, Eli, you don't know if that's your interpretation. That's not true. Well, that's okay. Wait, I'm not going to say, okay, that's fine. You don't have to submit to anything. But only you know, in the intimate cocoon of your consciousness, where in which you walk the garden of thorns. And the law is still the law, in that the highest measure of truth is the reality you are forced to live. And those thorns that are poking you in the intimate cocoon of your consciousness matches you, because it is true that you require evolution in that area. What can you debate? You see, class, what I'm trying to do is, I don't want you to fall into victimhood. I don't want you to fall into being a non-value producing protester, or being unaccountable, or having these tremendous shadows that you cannot even begin to see because your belief system prevents you from seeing yourself fully. The rest of the culture, most of the culture, 99% of the culture would this teaching would absolutely repel them, because it's so dense. This teaching repels most people. What, are you trying to say something is my fault? That's not my fault. And then they go down a fucking dead end, and they do that thing to nowhere, to no growth. And they keep meeting themselves again and again, because they refuse to accept the truth. Because another thing that the highest measure of truth is the reality you are forced to live reveals. It points you to your shadows. What are your shadows? Your shadows are your unconscious behaviors, unconscious motives. Something you do, but you're not aware that you do it. Even dark things that you do that you're not aware that you're doing, that you're engaging in. That's why we call it a shadow. And we call it a shadow because everyone else can see your shadow except you. Unless you do deep, deep, deep work to discover pieces of your shadow. And if you want a clear fucking mirror to what your shadows are, repeat. The highest measurement of truth is a reality you are forced to live. That's the blueprint. That's the map to what your shadow is, the area in which you have shadows. You have unconscious pattern of behaviors that create that life experience, that creates that thorn, in which is in your reality. There's something you need to adjust in that area about you. There's responsibility on your hand. I don't care what you bring up. I say this as a African American man. Because often when I teach this, especially in open spaces, people bring up slavery. I don't care what people you are examining and how unfortunate the situation is in which they found themselves in. There are behavior patterns within those people that created that condition, and that will continue to create that condition until they adjust something within themselves so that they are no longer a vibrational match for that experience. That is still the truth. Glory. And when you adopt that truth, you produce a different type of people who become who have the power and the potential and the coding to not attract certain undesirable life experiences because they're not a match for it. They're too prepared in their very nature. They understand that can happen in their very nature. They've built up a defense for that. The highest measurement of truth is the reality you are forced to live. Spiritual law is the only law. There's nothing to debate. Because your reality will thorn you where it is supposed to thorn you and where you require evolution, where you require growth, where you require to untangle something. And until you untangle, until you confront those patterns, you will continue to be thorned in that area. In the intimate cocoon of your consciousness. Spiritual law is the only law. There is nothing to debate.
This Throne Mastermind session has concluded. Visit thronemastermindsessions.com to inquire about membership and to gain access to more Throne Mastermind sessions. All members may now exit the private session.